Welcome, Airgun fans. I've got a special guest on this episode of the Airgun Geeks. This gentleman is the guy behind Buck Rail. You've heard us talk about him on the podcast before because both Pat and I absolutely rock the whole Uber X Notos game. and he has been really strong in that. And I've had the distinct privilege to test his early editions of his Moderators. And now he's got some even cooler stuff coming out. So tell us who you are, sir, and what does Buck Rail mean to the average air gunner?
Sure. So my name's Terry Harmon. I'm the founder and owner and operator of Buck Rail.
Friends, be sure and check out our sponsors. They're the reason the Airgun Geeks even exist. They make sure we get to the places where the airgun story is happening. So do make sure you show them some love. Check out their shops and check out their products.
And we sort of made our name over the past 5 years for FDM, sort of a hobby grade 3D printed parts, very high quality, hobby grade 3D printed parts. And this is our sort of low key debut of our selective laser sintering parts. We're moving away from the fused deposition type, the hobby grade, the common, what you think of when you think 3D printing, those parts, and we're moving more towards selective laser sintering. These parts are they approach the quality and the part properties of an injection molded part. So we still have the flexibility of 3D printing where we can rapidly iterate. We can do short run stuff. We can make
tooling costs.
Right, exactly. So if we sell only a few thousand in the lifetime of the product, that's fine. You know, if we only sell 5 of them and it's a total blunder, well, I've only put a few hours of design time in,
right,
and just the cost of those initial run of parts. So we can take risks, right? Without a lot of risk. And so yeah, that's what we're kind of debuting here. We're showing off a lot of our selective laser sintered parts, a lot of tactical chassis and everything, a lot of parts that are currently FDM only. We have selective laser sintered versions of those. We have some products that we're showing off here today that aren't released yet. One product that really hasn't been shown publicly yet as well. So I don't know if you want to talk about that stuff in detail.
Yeah. Go as deep as you want.
Yeah,
I mean, this
sure.
is your show.
All right, yeah.
And, I want to point out real quick the big delta between FDM, which is kind of like the really accurate hot melt glue gun going around and depositing material. It's great. It's definitely not a bad process. Sure. But laser sintering is going to ultimately yield a more homogeneous grain structure in your part that doesn't suffer from the same layer issues
exactly
that a laser sintered part does. So when he says they've moved to a new process, what he really means is they've upped their game dramatically. So I wanted to delineate that because
you put it much better than I did.
It's a really big step for a small boutique manufacturer,
sure,
to kind of be honed into not only the ethos of what the airgun world wants, but also what the airgunner needs, and kind of meeting those two together is power, man. That's
no doubt.
That's really cool.
Hey, Airgun Geeks family, we've got some exciting news to share with you today. We're thrilled to announce our new partnership with some of the biggest names in the outdoor world: Airgun Depot, Cabela's, and Bass Pro Shops. This partnership means that when you use our special links to shop at these stores, it won't cost you a penny more, but it directly supports the Airgun Geeks podcast. We're really proud to be working with these outdoor giants, and it's all about helping us bring you the best coverage of the airgun world. So next time you're gearing up for your next outdoor adventure, remember to use our links. You'll be supporting us and helping keep the content you love coming.
Doubt. Yeah, and if something maybe is a product that's more fit for traditional manufacturing, we can kind of test that out, see how much of a demand there is and everything, and if it is something that would justify the tooling needs for a traditionally manufactured injection molded part or machined part, we could certainly move in that direction or hand it off to other manufacturers, which we started to do, so they can bring it to the consumer, at a price better than what I could do in house with selective laser sintering. And make no mistake about it, these are extremely reasonably priced products, and will remain. That's our kind of bread and butter, the budget air gunner. we'll continue to serve the customer that kind of built this business, but now we're adding value to our products, while staying in the same sort of price bracket, and able to just provide a much tougher product, and maybe even start convincing people who otherwise wouldn't even give a 3D printed part a chance, show what 3D printing can do, and sort of bridge that gap, if we can. So that's what we're getting into.
So, I mean, one of the things that we've seen in the airgun world is the growth of the segmented silencer,
Sure.
where you can use that silencer as also a tuning element in your barrel harmonics.
Sure.
And
Right.
you've got something really trick up your sleeve that
Yeah.
I think we'd like to see.
Yeah, certainly.
So do talk about that.
Sure, I can go ahead and grab a prop here, real quick. But essentially, for a while, we've done the one-piece FDM 3D printed design, and this was honestly, I had already known, this has been going on in the firearms industry for a while, and of course, you have Impulse and DonnyFL doing their modular moderators, and in the firearms industry, it goes way back. But essentially, this came from just being practical. I really wanted to move my super popular, venerable FDM UNF suppressors. I wanted to move those over to this selective laser sintering. But one drawback of the selective laser sintering is you have all the fused powder, but then you have the loose powder stuck inside of cavities and whatnot. You have to get that out. And that's not a problem. We can do that. But in order for me to be able to scale this up, I need to try to keep
doing that level of handwork.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I need to automate whatever I can. Right. Sure. And so I honestly only started to pursue this just for the practical purpose of being able to print this without cavities, so I could take it and throw it into an automated blast machine and get it cleaned out and everything. And then I started to find, wow, okay, now I get it. There's actually a lot of advantages to this. You can make it so the customer can make it shorter if they don't, if it's a low volume air gun, they don't need the length. They can drop it down some. You can add, more modules. It also allows you to add, say, as you get a little longer, you can add larger internal diameter baffle modules, so to account for any sort of misalignment. There's going to be a misalignment in every suppressor. It's just a matter of how much, and the longer and longer it gets, that's going to be, obviously be exacerbated.
There's an issue of tolerance stacking.
Exactly.
As you get away from the first attachment point, that grows with each progressive segment.
Right.
So
exactly.
being able to inexpensively add larger chambers is going to eliminate that big problem.
Right.
And actually allow you another corrector too.
No doubt. And so we've already released this product. We have 2 different versions, and we have different threaded adapters for the expansion chamber module, and it's going really well so far. Right now we're at a point where I didn't really anticipate them being as popular as they are. And so it's kind of delaying me being able to introduce higher calibers, right? And maybe make it to where a customer can buy, just maybe a baffle or 2 or 3 in order to add on and whatnot. That's all coming. That's going to happen. And it's kind of perfect timing. At the same time, you have Nate Cronny in the booth next to us here. Mm-hmm. He's developing this really slick chronograph that serves the same customer base that we do. And Mr. Rick Usler with GTA and everything, he got us together. He said, hey, you're the affordable airgun moderator guy. He's the affordable chronograph guy. Why don't y'all get together and bring them together? So I can't take credit for the concept or the idea. That was Mr. Rick Usler that brought that to us, and I just said yes, sir, and made it happen. So now you have your standard expansion chamber here, right? We can replace that with an expansion chamber that combines a chronograph module. Yeah. So if you want, you can set this up to be a chronograph, just how it is. It has this large opening here, or you could take this ring off, right? And now you can thread in these suppressor baffles. So now you have an integrated chronograph. You have Nate's 3-axis accelerometer that picks up on your movement before pulling the trigger. You get all this data, right? And on top of that, you get your suppression, and it's just going to be super modular, right? And then on top of that, I happen to be seeking a patent for this is patent pending now. It's a collet mechanism for clamping a suppressor or whatever. It could be an air stripper or obviously a chronograph on any unobstructed barrel or shroud. So all you would need to do, you could skip the threaded adapter, and all you need is the right size collet. Yeah, exactly. So this one right here has a 23 millimeter collet. I think that's the right size for, say, the Gauntlet G1. So it has a 1 millimeter clamping range, but right now the max size that we can do is 23 millimeters. And then right there on the table there, I have a collet. It's an 11 millimeter that would work with a 7/16 Crossman barrel. Right. So that one would work on a bunch of guns. I have a 14 millimeter and 15 millimeter for a lot of the Beeman air guns. Right. And just as customers have needs, we'll develop those collets as well and introduce
Do you
those.
see yourself at a point where you might release the models for the collet for those of us air gunners
Sure.
who do have 3D printer?
Yeah.
We could, hey, I just got a new gun. I don't want to wait for this to come. And
Right.
can I get the model and print it myself? Or maybe we pay for that. How do you
Certainly. So yeah, when I first started this business, I was really big into the open source and the transparency and everything, and the community minded. Something happened at some point where I started to get burnt out. I was working full time, and then Buckrail was getting pretty successful, and I was competing with my full time job. And at the time, I just had to make a choice for my health. I took a bunch of products down, thinking that was going to slow business down. What it did is it made it to where folks were sending me lots of emails, and I wanted to do right by my customer. Didn't want to ignore them and whatnot, so I was responding. I was putting a lot of time in anyway. Sure. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to throw all my models up online, get them in touch with the different print services. You can go to the print service and have them, ship it to you or print it yourself. They just had to agree to a Creative Commons licensing agreement, and basically a small company started up, using my models and everything, and that soured me a little bit on the open source stuff, doing that in good faith and being taken advantage of that in a way. However, I'm still very much of the same mind, and I could totally see how that would work with the collets, right? Just the collets, the customer can, make that work. However, and I was really thinking as well for firearms, for folks, maybe not for homemade suppressors and whatnot or whatever, but the collet would work with an octagonal barrel, right? Or a hex barrel, tapered barrels. It'll work with tapered barrels as well. You just have to, match the taper, and it'll clamp down concentrically on that cone, So yeah. So there's so much variability, and I probably couldn't serve every customer. So that probably would be a very good idea and something that I should do, and we'll certainly consider.
And I guess where it still puts you in the driver's seat is the collet's useless without the rest of the stuff.
No doubt. Sure.
So the collet is the personality device, the actual interface, and giving that away, they have to have the rest of the stuff already.
No doubt.
So as far as your sales, it shouldn't be
right.
It shouldn't be toxic.
Yeah, and it's going to be the way I was conceiving of it in my mind so far is just it's a really affordable, really that part is really affordable. That's the whole point, right? You're getting rid of a $45 threaded adapter,
Sure.
And so. You can't make that into like a cash grab with the collets and everything, So the idea was to make sure that that's extremely affordable so that you can
really cool.
not add to the cost for that.
I mean, that's really, I think, where at least if I put my consumer hat on, that's where Buckrail has really stood out to me. Is it has been the really innovative ideas that are also affordable.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, I mean, your moderator is really good. I mean, it is the previous generation, not this one, but performance-wise, it's on par with everybody in that space.
Sure.
According to my tests.
Right.
Which I'm upping my game on suppressor testing. I've got a video I'm working on for that, but it's great to see you guys kind of bringing the boutique business model to a very wide airgun audience.
Certainly. And, we've had a really good opportunity because somewhere along the way, whenever we started getting into this selective laser sintering, there's another technology called multi-jet fusion. Same concept, but multi-jet fusion is a HP company. I'm going to start rambling about that, so okay. I'll stop going down that rabbit hole. But essentially, I hired out a local company in Spring, Texas. And what I did was, in order to justify the cost of bringing that technology in-house, I essentially had them make the parts for us. We negotiated prices and everything. It's still really expensive, and I basically had such little markup. I set the price. What do I want the price to be? What would I want the price to be as a consumer? And so I waited until I'm spending $6,000 a month on multi-jet fusion parts from iSolid and Spring, and now I could take those numbers to the bank and say, hey, this is what I'm spending. It's bringing this in house. This is what it's going to cost me. The rest I have to pay on a loan for these machines.
Right.
And so that's worked out really good. I haven't had to change anything for the customer. They're still getting awesome prices and everything, but now we have a more sustainable business model and everything, bringing the stuff in house. And so that's been a large focus. If I can't make it affordable, I'm not going to do it. And there have been some products where it just makes way more sense to do, use, traditional manufacturing methods. And I know there's a big market for it. I can't provide a good price for the customer. I know somebody else can. So, so we sell it, or work with another company for them to bring it to market. And you'll start seeing more of that. There's a lot of a lag, working with OEMs and everything for those sorts of things to happen. But lots of stuff like that in the work. And then not only that, but being in that position, as really trying, you have to be obsessed. You have to be kind of a little bit crazy to make the FDM stuff work at scale. You have to be really passionate about it, especially if you're providing really low prices, and so the moving over to this technology, I see all the advantages. You have to make sure that the customer understands the limitations of the technology, right? So that makes it more difficult to work with resellers, right? Dealers and everything, right? Because now you're trying to outsource to them, and that's very difficult, because they don't know the product, and so we can start doing that now, but I also want to do that for other manufacturers in the industry who were where I was at some point, and I started hiring out to other companies, outsourcing the manufacturing. Now we're starting to work with other manufacturers who are doing really good job coming out with innovative parts, and we're going to do the manufacturing for them, right? One of the companies is Mr. Josh over at Evolve 3D.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen any of his work.
No.
He's done some firearm stuff as well. I think he started out in firearms, but he's done a lot of cool stuff for the Avenge X. He has a really cool little tool for accessing the hammer spring adjustment, and little stuff like that. He's an engineer and a really solid designer. I believe he's doing this part-time right now. FDM prints, that look really great, but he's able to, I'm able to offer him a really, really good price to where there's still room for him. It provides a better, more refined product to the
Sure.
consumer. And then I know Airguns, I know this stuff, I know, this technology and everything, and so it's a kind of a win-win. And then we get to collaborate with cool people, you know what I mean? And I like seeing get my hands on all the various stuff, and there's other companies we're working with, Hajimoto Productions, Hodge Phillips, the Gauntlet. He's the one that came to me about that. He's the Gauntlet King, so that was perfect. I can do the design and manufacturing, and Hodge does all the the selling, moving, customer service and all that, so that I can keep focusing on product development, so it's win-win. Excellent. But more and more moving in that direction as well, so that's been another nice thing that's been presented by the selective laser sintering technology for sure.
Excellent. Well, thank you on behalf of all of us airgunners. Thank
Certainly.
you very much for all you do.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your time. I hope you have a really successful PA Cup 2024.
Sir,
I know my partner in crime, who happens to be watching right now, just got DQ'd in bench rest. So he's wearing the cone of shame right now. And
Only in bench.
yeah,
I strive in speed.
Awesome.
yeah, let's see how he does there. All right.
Very
Thank
cool.
you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.